Hello YouTube, your boy Freelancer Joe here, once again ready to dazzle and amaze. Well, hopefully there'll be a little bit more razzle dazzle today, since I plan on doing a little bit more than just downloading images, which I'm sure you found extremely exciting and entertaining. Well, at least you got my commentary. I hope you got my commentary. And I hope my commentary was of some interest, or at least you enjoyed the dulcet tones of your boy Freelancer Joe. I continue to work for the fine folks on my project for the fine folks at Bella Music School. Now that I have the placeholder images, I've been told my German accent is actually quite atrocious. This is a shame. I like my German accent. Maybe I should practice it more and show you sometime. But I have placeholder images for more visual sparkle to the website. I did commit them to my repository, but remember what I was saying before about I really need to trim them down? Yeah, I really need to trim them down. It was a total of like 50 plus megs, and the software build thing that I use starts to complain if you have things more than 2 megs. I think the actual approach is, since this is a web app, I should be hosting those images on an external site and not bundling them with the actual application. Yeah, okay, I dig it. And the real question is, having to make sure that those links stay up, whereas if it's always with the project or application itself, they're always going to be there. So give or take. I mean, you still ended up downloading them anyway, but depending on the hardware that they run on, the larger apps will be a problem. Not that it really shouldn't be 50 megs overall to begin with, but that's something I'll have to bear in mind in the future. But so I have the placeholder images. Let me go ahead and lower the resolution on this and get me out of the way. Not that I'll ever be completely out of the way. Not that I think I'm ever in the way, to be honest. I mean, this is why you're here, right? Right? So the visual pizzazz that we're going to be adding, or that I think the user, my client, wants, is a more graphical appeal. And one of those effects is parallax scrolling on certain things. Parallax being when you have multiple overlapping layers and then they move at different speeds. It's a cool visual effect that I first saw in video games way back in the old days. And it is kind of nice, a little bit distracting in my opinion for information conveying, but a solid choice I think to grab the eye. And so I had begun experimenting with it and doing it the right way, which is, well, the only way when you're doing a web application was with CSS. You set the perspective and you do a 3D transform and blah de blah de blah de blah. And I got it sort of working, but then I thought to myself, it's like, Freelancer Joe, you're supposed to be smart or barely competent. You're using libraries that really encapsulate a lot of things so that you don't have to do this kind of low-level work. Is it possible, maybe just a little bit possible, that somebody has developed a library that you can use instead of having to muck around with all the CSS stuff? And I was like, Freelancer Joe, you're right, you're very smart. And I spent an hour complimenting myself. And as it turns out, there is a library that does that for me. And it is called, what is it called? It's called React-Parallax. Unsurprising, because the core of my web application library stack is React. So I basically just did a search for React and Parallax, and boom, there it came up. And it didn't take very long to install or set up or try out, and I've already added it to this first page. And you can see that it took a little while for this image to come up. And that's again because it's too big and incorrectly sized. But yeah, that's something to deal with later. And the parallax effect I'm going to recall is that I mentioned. So you see this little thing here. If I scroll down, you see how it kind of moves out of the way. Ideally, you have an image that you really want. So this is just a placeholder. Let's see if there's, what else is a good image that might, favorites, files. I've been told that I should do my best to fill the empty airtime. Now, ideally, I do background music of some kind, but my first attempt. Yeah. Let's get cracking. I'm out of sorts still. It's Monday. Come on. You can't really expect me to be back into the swing of things until it's, you know, the end of the week, and then I can go to do other things. Yeah, so this was the image that's being displayed right there. And you can see why it's too big. See, because it starts off here, it cuts off here. So I would probably need to reduce it by half the size and resize it by 50% in order to get it to display the way I want it to. But right now I'm just trying to show. Okay, this looks good. Just to show how awesome I am again making this a configuration item for now, and I have to rework the whole configuration thing. We'll get into that a little bit later. Services about, there we go. Alright. Reloads, go to about, and there the image is changed. Yeah, see? That's easier to make out. It's a music sheet in the hand with a ring. No rings on me yet. Alright, so that is parallax, and that's what we have there. But we don't have it on anything else. Well, as it turns out, I only have one page right now. Because, well, I suppose you could have it on the contact page too. Pointless on the login page. Alright, so let's go ahead and add it to the services page. And that way I can walk you through the pieces that were needed in order to get that parallax effect going. Container view. So the page that I have working on is the info view, which I need to rename at some other point. And split screen. I was never a fan of this split screen thing before, and yet as I have become more and more proficient in my cutting and pasting ways, I've become very much a fan. Services. Right. Although I still prefer the view that I'm working on to be more in the center part of the screen. And we don't use constants. I said I kind of put off cleaning up, and this is true, but there are some things that I can pretty much go ahead and remove. And I can always cut and paste them back in. Alright, so this is the third party library, React-Parallax. This is the one piece from it we're going to be pulling. Need slide. And let me see. Okay. We also need to include styles. Oh yeah, the styling of a particular component. So I have an inner wrapper. Alright, let me cut and paste it first. Alright, so this is where we're setting the height of the actual parallax background image, setting a minimum width, and we're setting an actual width, and I would much rather have this value be 100, just because it makes sense. I want to use up 100% of the viewport, but it's one of those cross-browser things where if I do 100%, Firefox is going to actually make it just a little bit bigger and then throw down a horizontal scroll bar at the bottom of the screen, which I don't like, whereas it'll display fine in Chrome. So this is close enough. Header inner, okay, and this is for the front layer, I guess, the foreground, and this will actually place it in the center of the foreground. And this inner content stuff, this is so that the stuff within the foreground is correctly, not correctly, but pleasingly displayed, centered up and in a nice column format. So if you look at what I have here on about, basically moved the header or the title of the page down into the image. So we will not be needing this anymore, nor will we be needing the divider. Instead, we're going to call this function render header container. I should probably rename it to like parallax container or something to be more descriptive. It's one of those things I shall figure out when I get around to refactoring, consolidating things. And this is the actual function. And so this is the object itself. Okay, so now I will need to update the configuration because I pull values from the configuration. I got this little block here called header, and this is services. So let me go update the services configuration. And we'll just replace the title. And let's pick a different image, just so you know there is no chicanery going on, or more chicanery than normal. Chicanery. Thinking that Sean Connery should have a son or daughter named Chick. You see? This is the kind of thoughts that roll through my head, which is also why I normally keep my mouth shut. Alright, so that is the configuration for the header in the services block. Now we just got to point this bad boy. And you see that I'm just replacing one value, so this is what kind of makes it a prime candidate for being pulled out to a generic component. Services candidate, but there are other things to consider, and I believe that should be it. Should. And built. About, as you can see, still has the magic ring, and there we go. Okay. Style's a little off though. You see here that this image is pushed up higher, makes more efficient use of the space, because you don't want to have too much white space in your page. Not when you're trying to convey things. If you want to focus attention on something, yeah. But if you want to get to the point, no. And also, should be noted that, see here how while this is kind of a darker image and the text here is also dark too, that's what I was mentioning before about needing contrast. Fortunately, your boy Freelancer Joe on both counts knows what to do. The first one's pretty easy. If we looked at, I hope I kind of paused at this before because I knew it was going to happen. Here, this is the content root, and I had padding at the top, which I commented out, and so it's the same thing here. Commented that out, so that will push that up. All right, this other thing here, services, info root. Is that where it comes in? Handler services, what does services do? Services, yeah, it has info root. Well, that's interesting. The padding doesn't push it down enough. Because I don't have padding here. So I will put your padding back in. So hopefully what that will accomplish is it'll push this down. Although that's all temporary, I need to change. As for the contrast, well, if you notice that one of the configuration items that I had in here was text color. And this is basically feeding this typography component what color to use, whether it's the default, inherent, primary, or secondary. Our secondary is the navy, and primary should be white, so we'll make it primary. So this is good if we change the image to, say, something with a lighter tone, then we just change this to secondary, bada boom. It should work. So let's see what we got. Yeah. Services. That's up there. That's nice and contrasting, and we got the space there. I love it when a plan comes together. And I'll admit, I like that parallax effect. It's nice to have like motion in your page. I remember the old days, web pages were static. Animated GIFs were the thing. And I say GIFs. Creator of it can say what he wants. Shall I go ahead and add it to the contact page? Well, you know what? We'll go ahead and add it and see how it looks. I mean, it might work, it might not. It's a simple thing to remove. I don't have a good image for contact. But that's why these are placeholders. Alright, you're good. And, right, so again, third party. Now for the contact page, I'm going to go ahead and leave in even the unused things because this is a bit more complicated and odds are it's going to change quite a bit. I forgot why that's there. Well, I guess the other thing to consider is that, yeah, there's a lot of things I was doing. Because I continue working on this even though the camera's not rolling, so there are things that I do that if you just join me, even if you go through and watch all the other videos, you're not going to know where they came from. And as it turns out, neither will I. Okay, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go. So again, header container. Now the only thing, well, aside from laziness, preventing me from doing this pull out to a top level component is that one of the more useful ways to not make something look so generic is to not have a very obvious pattern to your page. It looks like there's a lot of individual care that goes into each one. And so what that means is you actually shift up the format of the content. So in that particular case, it would be easier for me to, again, go ahead and do that kind of thing for each individual one. Then, even though it kind of doesn't look like a pattern, identify the pattern and then pull that out. That's easier for me. And easy for Freelancer Joe is how I want things. Now, likewise, I need to add a header block to the contact block. Did I pick an image to use? Or was I so mesmerized by my wonderful voice? And you know what, we'll go with the clock. Properties, copy that bad boy. I'm gonna paste that in now. Of course, since this is a light image, we'll go with the secondary color scheme. And we'll change this from about to contact. And we no longer need the title there. My guess is the padding is going to be off. Yep. Yeah, see how the clock scrolls out of view? Okay. Yeah, the padding. I just commented out for now. Clean up a little bit, leave a little bit of a mess. No. Yes. Yes. Very nice, very nice. Alright, let me see. Now, one other thing. Oh, so there's a little scroll bar here. Again. Oh, it's not there. Well. Alright, no, I wonder if I just... Nope. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Alright, I can deal with that. So it's not... My concern was that it was always going to be there when it was minimized or not, but no, it's just a certain width. Okay. One other thing. Okay. So we're starting to add more color or distinct sections. So that's fine because it's broken up by this. We'll have to work on this later. But the other thing is this guy right here. I guess to kind of know that this is an entirely different block because we've got blocks now, clearly identical blocks, but no borders. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom bar. Bottom bar. And so where did I define the border? I know, there we go, border. So I specified the border, and I built a wall. But now we want the entire thing probably to be, let's see what our theme says. We're using primary. And okay, primary is white. The text is black. Alright, so if I make that dark will the black correctly contrast? Well, fortunately, there's an easy way to test. Yes, but as you can see here, we have a slight problem with it not taking up enough space. Likewise here. What is your problem? I think I remember seeing this before. Okay. Alright, so the navigation route. It's got the padding, so that's a problem. I don't mind the padding on the top. I see the padding on the bottom. Okay, that's not good. Am I specifying? Oh, there we go. There, that's it. Oh, that's still not enough. Padding bottom is fine. Wait, does somebody have a oh, that's this one. There you go, margin bottom. Alright. Yeah. Well, okay. So in order to dig into that, I'm gonna have to go do a custom thing. Well, not custom, but I'll have to specify. I was really hoping it'd just be a color change. Component API, bottom. And what is the bottom bar? It was bottom navigation. Well, that's what I thought. And CSS, I can override the root, which is this guy. Oh, you know what? I bet you I could do major height auto. If I left you here, if I'm in margin bottom. Oh wait, would that do it? Let me see. Okay, bottom pane root. Height. Auto. Oh, I didn't realize I manually set the margin bottom. Why in the world did I do that? I think I know why, but... okay. Alright. Okay. So yeah, height auto works. It's just that if the content of the page doesn't push it down enough, then the height of the entire page isn't big enough. And this is the main page though, so I'm not too concerned about that because we're going to be adding a lot of those parallax things. Well, not necessarily a lot, but at least 2 of the parallax things in there. And I am making a fish face. So, yeah, that's not really good looking. Well, I mean, it's sort of good looking if you're into that sort of thing. I guess that's my hint to, you know, wrap this up for now. So, thanks for joining me, and if cool kid spiel. Comment, suggest, like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you join me again. And in the meantime, take care and God bless.